Hi everyone. Today we are continuing our meetings of experience exchange, and we finally got to talk to Al Amin Parvez from Bangladesh team, and we will be discussing uh, the amazing things that happened through those years that Bangladesh participate. Also, one story caught my attention a lot and got a lot of responses actually in my social media that how this year it happened that you uh, first time you could participate in person. Yes, this year.
No,
Um,
no, this is the second time because we
Second
participated
time.
first time in 2019 in St. Petersburg. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the first time after the COVID. Yeah.
after the COVID, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of an adventure from what from what I've heard. So
So
maybe we could start with this, and then you could also introduce a little bit of your organization, how you began the national competition, what would you deem as your strong sides, what did you manage to do greatly, and could share your experience in.
okay. Okay. So thank you, Alex, and thank you, Anna, for hosting me today. And I'm really pleased to be with this platform and for this purpose, for this evening, to talk with you too. Because from the core of my mind, I always feel very much special to be with the IEO, and that's why Economics Olympiad is something special, something so much passionate to me. So this is Al Amin Parvez, and I am working as the president of the Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. And we have been running this platform since 2000, late 2018, I should say. So for the first time in 2019, we participated in the second International Economics Olympiad at St. Petersburg, and that was something amazing for us. And as Alexander already has told that I should start with the recent experience of participating in the IO 2024 in Hong Kong. Maybe I can start from that point because that was really an interesting one. As Alexander already told that it was kind of an adventure for us. So maybe people already have known a lot of this story of Bangladesh because you know that in our country it happens that government has been running for a long time, like it's almost 15 years they were in power. So what happened? Like the student community, they have some demands and they started some protests against the government. So the government became so harsh over them, and what happened? Like the whole country was in lockdown. There was no internet, and in some point, like we were in a total internet blackout in our country. So it happened before like 1 week of our departure for the International Economics Olympiad for Hong Kong. So we were in a total uncertainty, and we don't know like what will happen. Even just before 2 days, we don't know whether our flight is on time or not. Like there was no communication, there was no internet, there was no mobile network, nothing. So what happened? We just took a car and like I collected all the participants from different parts of the city, and we went to the airport. It was like we have to pass through like few checkpoints of the military and had to convince them that we are some genuine people, like we are going to participate in an international event in Hong Kong. So we have all our documents. They checked our documents, and then finally we reached the airport and we found that oh our flight was on time. So and when we took the flight, it was like still we couldn't believe that we made it and we are going to participate in the IO 2024 in Hong Kong. So yeah, I should say that we were really lucky that we could made it, that we could make it, that we went to the International Economics Olympiad. And it was really, I should say, an adventure, more of an adventure, because we managed to get the visa only within 1 week. Whether it seemed a bit like unrealistic that normally the Hong Kong visa for our country it will take almost more than 4 weeks. But for our case, we tried many ways to get the visa earlier, and it worked. And we finally got the visa like within 1 week, and we could finally went we finally made it to the International Economics Olympiad. So the journey was really, really, I should say, a rocky one, and it was full of uncertainty, and it was too much eventful for us. So what happened? Our participants was a bit of like they don't know what to do, how to do, and whether we could participate in the final event or not. But finally, we made it. Although they were like was in a mental trauma because before participating there, they couldn't like communicate, and when we went there, even they don't know what's happening in our country because they couldn't connect with the families. So they are also in a mental trauma that what was happening in the country. So in the first few days, we couldn't communicate. They couldn't communicate with their parents, with their families in the country. And IEO opening ceremony happened. It was really an amazing one. We enjoyed a lot, but still the back of their minds all were in a. I always tell them that don't worry, everything will be fine. But still, you know that they couldn't know what is happening to their families and they couldn't communicate with them. So things have become a little bit tensed and they were anxious. So all these are not that much normal, but still the host was too good. I should say the central office was too good. They did really well, well like management. That's why things were a bit of, I should say, comfortable for us. So that was the you can say a story for the for from our case to participate in the latest IEO. So when we came back, things became much more interesting. So we came back to our country at the on the 1st of August, and the 5th of August, our country, the government collapsed in the country. So, and just from the 1st of August, the 5th of August, things became really harsh. Like there was countrywide lockdown, there was like military on the roads, so no one can go out, and everyone was inside the home. Still, the internet was sometimes a whole blackout was there. So, and on the 5th of August, the government call out, and no one knows what is happening. Like in the next few days, there was no government in the country, and even there was no police in the country. So, what is happening? Like what happened then? That the country was in a you can say a chaotic situation. And after a few days, the situation like it had been improving too slowly, I should say, because there was a new government they formed, and we are really lucky that we got the government, and the head of the government currently he is an prominent economist, and he got Nobel in uh, peace. Although he is an economist and he worked in microcredit, and he's like you can say pioneer in microcredit in the whole world. Professor Yunus, Dr. Yunus, he is popularly known as Yunus, and he is a famous person for his great initiative of microcredit in the Grameen Bank. So he is really famous worldwide. So he took the charge of the current government, the head of the current government. It's an interim government, so he is uh, formally positioned as the chief advisor of the interim government. So he is now the head of the government, and we are really lucky that an economist is running the country now. And in the major positions like the finance advisor, the central bank governor, all of them got changed and new people came. So all of them are like previously it was a political government and they have their people in all these positions. So currently we have the new people, new faces, and all of them are, I should say, more qualified, more competent, and most of them, the influential one, they are from the economics background. So I am feeling really good that okay, we have now the people who can really understand like what to do for the country and for the people. So that is a good thing for us. But the bad thing is like the whole system got I should say it changed a lot. So for our perspective with the Economics Olympiad, we have been working with this since 2019, and we are building up from a very like you can say from a zero. We are building a very little things, and we are trying to build a foundation in a stronger way every year. So this year, I should say, in terms of financing, which is the most challenging part for countries like ours. In terms of financing, we are in a bit of good situation, in a better situation, I should say, in a better shape. So even in the International Economics Olympiad, I had a discussion with Alex that we are planning to host IEO in our country. So you can understand that how better we were feeling at that point in terms of financing. But as I told you, that the new government came, situation got changed, so things became really like I have to work from the again from the very foundation stuff. So that is the you can say a bit of negative thing for me. Like I was in a you can say in a comfortable situation before, but now a bit of challenging situation. I shouldn't say that it's a bad for me, but it is a bit of challenging situation for me. So the good thing is there are good people out there. So let me share my today's story. So today I went to meet with the finance advisor. So he is currently in charge of the finance ministry, like he's the minister of finance in my country now. So I went to meet with him, and he is a prominent guy. He was before the governor of the central bank. Then he has been in teaching economics in different universities. So now he is like the finance advisor and holding the position of the finance minister. So I went to meet with him. I introduced my venture, Bangladesh Economics Olympiad, to him, and he appreciated me a lot. And he told me, "Okay, you people are doing really good things. So it's great that you are working with the students." And I told him that yes, sir, we are like a bunch of people are here, and we have been doing this from 2019. This is our sixth year, and we are planning for the next year. And I told him that how many students we have been engaging through this venture. And I have also told that since like this year, we have been working with almost 800 education institutions throughout the country. And I also shared my vision and mission with this. And I told him that from the financial literacy and financial education wise, it could be a great venture. Like in countries like ours, we are in a developing stage, and financial literacy is not up to the mark so far. So it's a huge field to work with. So my vision is to promote economics Olympiad on the basis of financial literacy and financial inclusion. To the people. Like we have a huge population, as you know, in Bangladesh. We are officially like 170 million people, and a huge population is living outside the cities. So if we can promote economics Olympiad to the more marginal people, like to the villages, out of the city areas, to the school and college students, then financial literacy and financial inclusion could be much more better. So I shared this vision with that guy, with that person, and he appreciated me a lot. And he told me that okay, we will be in support with you. So go ahead and do your stuff, and we will be with you. Don't worry. So it's a really like a huge boost for me. Like when people from this position they appreciate this thing. So I think we can do like we can manage the stuff better in the next years. Obviously, I have to put much more effort. I have to like show them much more vivid stuff what we are planning to do and how we will do. Like we should show them some concrete like planning, but still they are interested. Like the things are really interesting stuff. So from this point, I want to share that if any country, like what I can understand that in IEO so far, developing and less than developing countries, they are a bit of lagging behind. Like most of the developed countries, I should say, many developed countries and many developing countries, they are in the platform already. So we should attract more developing countries, or like below, like you can say underdeveloping countries. So we should attract those countries, and obviously they will face a similar journey of ours. Like as I told, the in my country, we are very few people are working with me. We all have our own like profession. Like I am working at the central bank. I have my 9 to 5 job, and my other colleagues they also working in their different fields. So they all are a full time employee, and at the same time we are running this Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. So we don't have a full time like office or full time staff for this. So why not? Because we don't have that much finance to run the whole thing the whole year. So what we do normally, we work with this venture for the 6 months, you can say, and we try to like raise some funding and organize this stuff the whole country, and then we try to like nominate our national team and participate in the IEO. So financing will be a big deal for all the countries like ours. So I should say that the thing from my perspective so far, whatever I like preach this thing to people or to the sponsors, this is a really interesting stuff. So since this is a really interesting stuff, and this venture is working directly with the youth people, and obviously with some crucial issues like in my country, financial literacy, financial inclusion is a big deal, and the government they have a like you can say a major strategy to bring all the people in the banking channel to ensure the financial inclusion. So, since our venture, the goal of this venture, like the goal of Bangladesh Economics Olympiad and the mission of the country, is aligned together, and is supported each other. That's why it could be interesting to all the stakeholders. So I can feel like this way, that if you can connect your own mission and vision with the broader mission and vision of your country or the national strategy, it could be much more interesting to the stakeholders, to the people who can really help you through to grow this venture, to finance this venture, and to support this venture. So this is I can say that this could be one suggestion, like reformulate the mission vision of this economics Olympiad in your country to the national strategy of your country. Because although it is economics Olympiad, but still I am trying to align this with the mission of the financial inclusion and financial literacy. Because so far there is no such, like, it's a you all know that it's a like matter of jargon, that there is no such thing of economic literacy or economic inclusion. So it's all about financial literacy and financial inclusion. Since this thing is popular, so I am trying to align this with those two stuff. And there is no conflict, I think, because economics Olympiad is dealing with economic literacy as well as financial literacy, so it can go hand in hand. So from that regard, I am trying to align this thing with the whole national strategy, and I am trying to make this thing much more attractive to the policymakers, to the stakeholders. So my next plan is to working with the government. Like, I am trying to get so far we have been we are you can say dependent on the sponsorship of the private companies, like some banks, some other private organizations. They sponsored us so far, but currently my main focus is to get the funding from the government. So from that regard, I am trying to convince the policymakers. That means the guy I met today, the finance advisor, or the higher one, as I told, the chief advisor of the country is currently an economist. So if I somehow could meet with him and somehow and like convince him that we are trying to do this stuff, which is really important for the nation and for the youth of this nation, maybe they would be convinced. And I'm really confident that it is an interesting venture, and they might feel this thing or find this thing interesting. So if this thing happen, then government will be supportive for this. And if the government support this thing, things will be much more easier for me, because uh, in you know that in countries like in these developing countries, government plays a huge role. Like in the developed countries, private organizations play the major role, but in developing countries, the government like plays the major role. So if I can get the government support, so I things will be like much more easier for me, and I can access the government institutions, government supports, like all the education institutions and other policymakers. They can help me to grow this venture in a greater way. So that is my next goal, to incorporate this thing in the government budget, you can say, to get more support, to get a you can say greater leverage to grow this venture, so that I don't have to depend on the private ventures, because private companies, they have their own targets and own like issues. Like from my perspective, what I found, that private companies, they try to see how much their brand can grow through this venture. But from the economics Olympiad, we don't give them much more branding. I think that the branding is not the major issue. The major issue is to promote the youth, is to train up the youth, is to promote financial literacy, economic literacy, this kind of thing. So from that perspective, I think government would be the major player in this regard, and I'm trying to get this government support. And I think I'm really confident that we can get this. Whether we can get this in next year, or maybe it may take like 1 or 2 more years, but I'm on it, and I'm trying to get that support in a major way, so that things would be easier for me to spread this thing in the whole country. And our next goal, so far we have been working with the high school level students, but our goal is to incorporate the students from the school level, so that there could be like awareness among them also. And you would be happy to know that this year, like in 2024, when we started our campaign for the International Economics Olympiad selection, then we introduced a very basic essay competition for the school level students. So many of them participated, and they obviously heard the name at least, that there is something called Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. So just to promote the name among these like school level students, we introduced the essay competition. And next year we are working to introduce something else so that like we can incorporate the school level students with this venture. And through this way we are trying to like engage much more people with it. And I hope that if we can engage much more people with it, this could be like you can say the people will be interested. And whether these school going students grow up, they will be much more interested for this. And some interesting thing I also have found that in our national curriculum, economics education or finance education is not that much strong. So we have to depend on the English medium students, which is you can say very few in our country. There are very few educational institutions available only in the big cities. Only two or three big cities, these English medium schools are available. So the students number is not that much, not that many, I should say. From that perspective, we are trying to incorporate the Economics Olympiad in the national curriculum so that people get interested. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to make this Economics Olympiad a bit more accessible for the national curriculum level students, which is not that easy because in the national curriculum, not many people study like economics. So we are trying to popularize this subject also. So that is, you can say, another goal for us, that people from all discipline, like in our country, there are mostly three disciplines, that is science, humanities, and the business education. So only people from humanities and business education, they study economics, which is, you can say, 30% of the total college level student. 70% of the total college level student, they study the science education. So where economics is a kind of alien subject for them. But interestingly, we have found that few students from those science background, they did really well in our national competition. So what we found, that those people are really interested for economics, although it is not in their curriculum in their school level or college level, but because of their own interest, they studied economics, they participated economics Olympiad, and they did really well. So we are trying to find this kind of people. We are trying to make this Olympiad accessible for many other people, and we are trying to make economics Olympiad like available, as well as we are trying to popularize this thing to a broader, you can say, spread of people. By doing this, we are trying to attract much more audience on it. We are trying to onboard much more people on it. So I think this is our. I talked a bit more on the current our current journey and the future plan. So, Alex, you maybe asked me about the journey from the beginning, right?
Yeah, could I ask you a couple of questions on those parts
Yes.
that you have already
Yeah.
went through? Thank you for this amazing introduction of all the plans. It's really interesting to see that you are developing the Olympiad um through all the possible ways. Could you please tell us a little bit more of the legal entity that has been created for this, the Strategic Research and Outreach
Mhm.
Foundation, I believe? Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, and how did you start it? How did you build it? And where from did you find those first sponsors, the support that you talked about from the private companies that you said you have, and maybe a little bit on the statistics on how, what was the pace of growth? What were the numbers of participants in the first year up to today?
Okay.
How did this happen?
Okay. Okay. So thank you. So first of all, let me talk about the legal entities. So this is another interesting journey we faced, that when we tried to like have the registration for the Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. So we went to the government office who are supposed to give this registration. They told us that since you have the name Bangladesh, like the country name, you cannot get the registration because you are not a government organization. So you cannot use the country name. So that was an interesting like experience for us. So then we found like what should we do? So we tried to create another organization, which already Alex told, that Strategic Research and Outreach Foundation, that is a legal entity. So we established this entity, and we like so far for the last 3 years we have been running Economics Olympiad you can say as one of the concerns of this legal entity. So that is you can say allowable in our country, that you have an entity which is legally registered in your country, in our country, as per the law, existing law, and then you can run this kind of program under this organization. So this is a, you can say, common practice, like all other organizations, or this kind of ventures, like we have physics olympiad, math olympiad. They're also following this kind of pattern, like they have an entity, and then with the support of that mother entity, they have been running some kind, this kind of like ventures. So this is the, you can say, the legal issues. So we are well set on the legal issues in our country, that we have a legally registered organization, and that organization, you can say, is the, we say that this is the host of the International Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. So and now, and then we have a totally different committee for the Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. So that committee is organizing the Olympiad in the throughout the year. So that is the, you can say, the legal issues. And about the first sponsor, how we have got the sponsor. So I should say that in the first year, like in 2019, when we participated for the first time in the IEO 2019 in St. Petersburg, that time we didn't have any kind of sponsor. Like we have a very that was a tiny sponsor who just sponsored us for the, you can say, for our online promotions only. So that was like happened because of some personal connections. Like I requested some people, one of them like gave us a bit of funding only for the, you can say, some online promotions. That's it. So from the second year, we tried to have some influential people in our Bangladesh Economics Olympiad committee. Like we have two committees. We have a national committee which is led by some senior economists, policymakers of the country, and then we have a very distinguished executive committee, which is headed by me, like as the president, and we also have some, you can say, young, energetic people who have been holding important positions in government, in central bank, in private organizations, but they are working as the organizer of the Economics Olympiad. So in our national committee, we have people like senior economists, government officials, deputy governors of the central banks. So we have these, you can say, big guns in the national committee. So those people, they helped us to get these sponsors. Like, but yet it's not that easy. Like we have, for example, I have applied to 10 organizations. Only one of them turned out as the, you can say, the successful one for supporting us. And the money is not that much. Like it's in the first year we got around, like you can say, $2,000 for that year, like in the second year. But it was good for us because that time we are in a COVID situation, so we didn't participate physically. So that was enough for us to participate online. That was good. So second year it happened like this. In the third year we also got similar kind of a small sponsorship, which is enough for the online participation. And third year also was the same thing. So last year it was a major breakthrough. Like last year we have some, as I told you, that some influential people in the national committee, and we approached many people to finance us for the International Economics Olympiad. And I think since we convinced them that we are going to participate in the International Economics Olympiad in person, and which will happen in Hong Kong, and will be one of the countries among the other 53 countries, then they got interested. Like they thought, okay, these people are going to participate in an international event in a country which is very famous. Like Hong Kong is famous in our country due to the business relations and others. So when they found that these people are going to, like as a representative of the whole country in an international event, they got interested, and we got funding, like you can say, around 20,000, yeah, around $20,000. So from 2,000 to 20,000, I should say, like this. It was good. It was good, and so I was really hopeful that, okay, if we can, like convince people with what we are trying to do and what is our mission and vision, then people got really interested. So that was the funding stuff. And regarding the growth, I should say in the first year we got only around 200 students in the competition. Okay, in the last year, our total registration was around 10,000. So from 200 in the first year to 10,000 in the sixth year. So these 10,000 is the registered people. But if I can consider the whole people we got engaged through our social media activities, through our promotions, it was nearly 20 million. So it was nearly 20 million in the whole of the promotional activities, like in our social media promotion, in our like newspaper promotion, and other stuff. So altogether, it is huge. And if I give you my personal experience, like when the national we in the last 3 years, I should say in the last 2 years, we have been hosting the national competition in a huge venue in the capital city, in a big like high school with a huge, you can say, auditorium. I found people with a lot of enthusiasm. Like we get the participants. For example, like we like select 500 participants to come to have the exam in the in-person exam after the first screening. Like as I told, there was around 10,000 students registered for the preliminary round, which happened online. Then from that online screening, we got 500 people for the in-person exam in a venue. There we found that with these 500 students, we got guardian, like we got around 700 guardians. Like people came with their parents, well, like both father and mother came because of enthusiasm. Like they're really interested that their kids are participating in this economics olympiad. So I found the enthusiasm too much in the people. So they're really interested to participate this kind of stuff. So I am these things really give me hope that this venture has a good future if we can promote this thing in a better way. So far we have been facing the problem of manpower. As I told you that we are in a voluntary situation. Like all the people working with me, very few people, they are giving the service on a voluntary basis. So I cannot force people to do some stuff. So they come and join with me and do some stuff with their own interest.
Mm.
So, and you know that what happens next, like some things get lacked, and I cannot like cover all the stuff. So that is one problem I have been facing, and I am working hard on this to solve this problem. Hopefully next year we will be in a better shape. But still, people are really interested. I found the enthusiasm among them, and it is really hopeful for us. Yes.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. This is amazing. Could you please tell us more about the economics in ordinary schools? Do you have this in your educational program?
As I told you that in our country we have major two, like you can say, two streams of education. One is the national curriculum, another one is the English medium curriculum, following the Oxford Cambridge system and the
Yeah,
American
yeah,
system.
in the national
Yes.
curriculum. Do
So
you?
in the national curriculum, yeah, in the national curriculum, economics education is, I should say, it's really marginalized. Like the economics education is too basic, and very few people study this,
Mm,
because as I told you, in countries like ours, people dream to become a doctorate engineer more than to become an economist. So
mm,
economics is deemed as a subject of the humanitarian and business studies. But as I told you, around 70% of the whole school and college level students, school and high school level students, they study science education. They study physics, mathematics, biology, and other stuff, chemistry, these things. So economics is being studied by, you can say, around 5 to 7% of the total students in the national curriculum. This is very
and what
few, very few.
and what about the financial literacy?
Yes, financial literacy is also the same thing. The science people, as I told
Mm,
you, 70% of the total students, they don't study financial literacy stuff. Only the students in the business studies, which you can say is roughly around 15% of the total students in the school and high school level students, they study the financial literacy stuff. But still, those things are a bit of theoretical, not that much practical thing. Like what you have to do
mm,
when you want to open an account in the bank. I think they don't study that thing in a particular way.
mm,
Or how can you buy a share of the company, how to
mm,
trade the share in the share market. They don't study that much thing in a practical way. So financial literacy is a huge gap, and financial literacy is a huge challenge in our country. So,
mm.
so currently, wherever I go to talk with this economics olympiad, I try to focus financial literacy, because that is the, you can say, the major selling point for us. So
Mm.
that is quite interesting.
Were you able to start talks with the ministry about maybe somehow implementing or considering implementing changes to the national educational system
Mhm.
through what we did?
Yes, yes. That is the dream from the very beginning of mine. Like I studied economics in my university, and I also studied science in my school and high school level. So I haven't studied economics in my school and high school level. I studied economics first time in my university. So that's why my dream is to incorporate economics education in the school and college level. Uh, for the science students also, if they want, they can take this subject. There is no option of taking this subject currently, so I am trying to pursue this goal. But the thing is, like in our country, you know that the changing this thing is not that easy. But I am still onto this goal. So I am trying to taking a different route. Currently, I am trying to popularize financial literacy, and I think if financial literacy becomes popular, and if the policymakers see that okay, financial literacy should be a mandatory stuff, then automatically we can promote economic education and financial literacy all together for the national curriculum. That can be the way. So I'm trying to explore that way more currently.
I see. And you said about the manpower. Uh, do you involve the alumni in the process? Do you invite your former contestants, students, winners?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, yes. So that is also interesting. Like every year, we get very enthusiastic people. If I have to give an example, like uh, the person who participated in the 2019 Economics Olympiad, he is still well connected with us. Only one or two of them is really connected with us, and we can use them to take some classes to have some academic suggestion. But most of them are living outside of the country now, so we cannot use them for the organizing purpose. So
mm,
that is the major challenge because we need much more people to organize the Olympiad nationally. But still, the alumni, they are well connected. They are helping us for the taking some classes. They are helping us for some preparing some materials to coach the national team. So that is the way we are taking the help from them. So I think they are contributing to us, but still we have some manpower issue for the organizing in the locally. So
mm,
I'm trying to solve this thing to have some more people on board, and let's see next year. We from the last year we introduced the campus ambassador program, and so far it's not that much like the response is not that high, but we are trying to get more responses with some different mechanisms. Let's see what happens.
could you also please tell us a bit more about the Olympiads in Bangladesh? Is it a popular thing? Do the Olympiads help somehow, some way in entering the universities, or do they give any other benefits to the students? How many
Okay.
are there Olympiads? How many students participate in them?
Okay, so that is quite interesting. Like so far in our country, no universities are considering is considering this thing as you can say as as a qualification. Like because our university enrollment is a very basic thing. They take the exams and they try to enroll people from that exam. They don't consider extracurricular stuff. But at the opposite side, people who participated in the International Economics Olympiad as the national team member of the Bangladesh team, Bangladesh Economics Olympiad team, they were really successful in their higher studies in abroad. Like we have at least three people went to Stanford University in the last 3 years. Some went to some other big universities, some Ivy League universities. So their success rate is, I should say, it's 100%. Like every year, I have to write recommendation letters for those students who participated as the international team members of the Bangladesh Economics Olympiad. They pursue higher studies in mostly in US and some European countries, and they are really successful with this. So in my country, universities are not considering this thing so far, but in the other countries, they are getting the benefit. I should say fully. Yes.
I see. If you were able to get in touch to talk to some newly organized Olympiads, like If you could
Hmm.
imagine you yourself 5 years ago or 4 years ago, starting it and like don't know what to start with, how to find those connections, those ministry people to assist, those sponsors, those how to organize everything. So like it's a kind of mass like to deal with. What would be your advice to yourself? What would you um, suggest to do,
Okay.
pay attention to?
So I think that the way I tried to solve the problem, still I am still working on that problem. The way I'm following to get the right people at the right place. I should say this because if you can have the right people at the right place, things will be pretty much easier for you. So firstly, you have to find out what's the major challenges for you. Then you have to find out who are the people who can solve the problem. For example, if I want to get funding from the commercial banks, so far my major sponsors are from the commercial banks, are the commercial banks. So I have to get in touch the one of the top officials of the central bank because they are the regulatory organizations of the commercial bank. So if I can get, I can onboard one of the top officials of the central bank in my national committee, then things will be easier for me. And if I try to get funding from other private organizations or from any other organizations, I have to get some people who have the influences over them. Or if I want to attract more media to like promote our thing, then I have to like have some people who have really influence or really influential over the whole of the media stuff. So I'm trying to get these kind of people. And what I have found that uh, policymakers and people who are like at the peak of their professional height, you can say that they have reached their professional height. They don't have like anything to gain because they are already at the peak of their professional level. If you promote this economics olympiad or any kind of this kind of stuff to them, they will be interested because they already reached to their peak of their professionalism. So they try to get some new ventures, to explore some new ventures. And I think olympiad you can say is a perfect thing to explore because they are at their height of the professional status, so they can work now with the young people. That gives them, I think that gives them a much more vibe, much more lively thing to get attractive. So I found this thing for my case, like when I try to pitch these economics olympiads to some high officials, they get interested. They say, oh, oh yes, I am really interested to work with the young people. So also today the finance advisor, he told me that you guys are really doing well because I am also try to work with the young people. So this is the thing. I think you can go to them, you can have somehow get a meeting with them, and then if you preach this thing that you are working with this, they will be interested with this. Yes, that
I
is,
could
you can say, my
imagine.
suggestion.
Oh, that's amazing. I could imagine a lot of questions right now coming if we were live. In
Okay.
our feed, we would have like maybe 20 of those. The same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, that's understandable. Of course, we need those high influence people, but how do we get to them?
Exactly.
What would be the way to reach this? Or maybe someone would comment that, well, this guy, he is so amazing, he's great, but he's got the position, he's working in the central bank, so all the connections are there, and it's easy to do so. So, like, maybe what would you suggest to, I don't know, a simple student from a school? How could he outreach to those kind of people?
Yes. So yes, obviously your point is really good. Like I am working at the central bank. I am also I have been teaching economics for a few years. So I have some, you can say, students who have been working in the ministries. So they helped me a lot to get this connection. That pretty simple. So if you ask me how people from opposite side, like with any kind of positions, other, how can they do this? So I think I cannot suggest that much better way. So obviously you need some luck, like you need some people. And what can I say? Like things will be a little bit challenging in that regard, but obviously you can have some way out. Like if you can if you think that you at least try to get involved with many more people, then obviously you will find some people get interesting. They feel interesting with this venture. So, but that is not exactly the thing. Like you should not go to the top officials at the very first moment. You can go to the mid-ranked officials, obviously. So today, when I met with the, you can say, the finance minister or finance advisor, I met with his personal secretary, who is a mid-ranked official, but he's really interested for the economics Olympiad. So he allowed me to meet with the finance advisor because he is the personal secretary. So he is the authority to allow the access to the finance advisor. So he allowed me because he is also interested. I think it's not always that you have to convince the top officials. You can convince the mid-ranked officials because many of them are there. So if you can communicate with them, some of them will get interested. Then you will find your way out through them. Yes.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions that might be also very interesting for those who would be listening to us. And one of those is, what were your largest mistake while going through this venture of starting the Olympiad, making it
Okay.
happen?
Okay. I think I should say that in economics we have a famous theory called agency problem. Like you try to find some appropriate people, but you end up with some wrong people. So
Mm.
that is you can say the mistake I have been doing from the very beginning. Like I have started working with some people, and then I found that okay, these people are not right people. They are not helping me, or they are creating some negative stuff for the whole venture. So then I have to discard them from this venture, and I have selected some participants, but they are not working as a team. They are creating problems in the team. So that is the, you can say, the major mistake I have been facing so far from the whole efforts. Otherwise, things will be much more easier. But I think this thing will happen, and I am trying to minimize these mistakes from the next years. Yes.
Mm. And what was your biggest success? But please don't answer that I've put a correct person on the correct place.
Okay. So I think the biggest success is obviously I should link this with the IEO because IEO is so much supportive with us. And obviously I should say that you people like you, Daniel, they are the biggest inspiration for me. And at the same time, you can say that the biggest success would be the hard work I have been putting on this and the people with me. Like I have very few people, two or three people with me. So we have been holding this. Like we are not each year we are trying to say we are feeling that okay we cannot run this, but still we are running this. So the continuity or the perseverance we have been showing for this venture, that is the biggest success, I should say.
Maybe you have some other something more, some story or some advice that you would give to those organizations that join us, or maybe to those who are already developing, searching for sponsorship or inviting the ordinary schools, working with the governments. Maybe there is something else you could add to what we already said.
Okay. Not that many thing I can add, but I think you need some people who are like really interested on this venture and who will try to pursue this venture whatever happens. So for my case, as I told you, that I personally is pretty much committed for this, and I really enjoy this venture, whatever happens. So I have been holding this venture for the last 6 years, and I have, you can say, maximum two or three people with me who are also in line with me. So that's why so far we have been holding this. Otherwise, it will be a really tough thing for us. So I
Hmm.
should say that you need some people who are really motivated and interested to continue this venture. That could be the key, I think.
Hmm. So we will be wrapping up in a couple of minutes, but one more question I wanted to ask. Also,
Mhm.
uh, during those times that you came in person or came
Mhm.
online, were you able to make some new interesting contacts? Do you continue to communicate with those people from the community of the IO?
Yes, obviously. Like from the 2019 IO, like all I have a good friendship, you can say, with some of the team leaders, like the team leader of China, Taiwan. team leader of some other countries. So I have some really good friendships. So when I have been building my local Olympiad, like Bangladesh Economics Olympiad, I took many suggestions from them. Even they shared their own question paper with me. I followed their question paper. I followed their business case. So I took a lot of suggestions from them. And even in this year, IEO, I talked with many people like how they're organizing this thing, how they're doing this, how they're selecting. So they gave me a lot of suggestions. So I am trying to incorporate those suggestions in my economics Olympiad. I have taken many notes from them, and I am trying to incorporate this thing in my economics Olympiad. And still, I have a good connections with some of the team leaders and others. So we are in a communication regularly. For example, this year I have a huge, like a long talk with the Hong Kong team and the Malaysian team, how they're organizing their stuff, how they're preparing their students. So I think I should follow this thing, and this is really helpful for me.
Amazing. So we would appreciate it if you could share some links and resources with whoever is listening or reading afterwards this interview. Thank you a lot for your time, for sharing the experience. I really adore what you went through this year to come in person. I will try to put some photos from our meeting when you came to also show it here. Thank you a lot for your time. Thank you for joining us, and I hope we see you soon in person again.
Yeah. Thank you again for hosting me, and I'm really like happy to be here, and I'm really sorry that I have to wrap it up. And I really enjoy to like talk another like 30 minutes or 1 hour. So it's really great always to talk with the IO people. I really, you know that everywhere I try to talk about Bangladesh Economics Olympiad, I say that we have a really great organizations called the International Economics Olympiad, and really great people are working there. So I really love the people of IEO and the central office people. So hats off to you, and hope you like you good times there. So hopefully see you soon.
Thank you. This
Thank
is
you.
usual.
So much.
Yeah, thank you.
Saying my admiration. It was for me that's in such difficult political situation, you were able to come to participate and to organize everything. So
yeah. Thank you both Anna and Alex. See you soon. Bye bye. Have a good day.
bye.